Hi, this is Marianne, and I'm painting with oils today. In this series, I'm painting these apples in a variety of different mediums. I just finished painting this in oils, and as you can see, I've used a type of canvas paper. So it's got like a canvas, it's like a cloth, but you can get it in a pad, but of course you can also paint on a canvas itself. So I've created a lot of blending using oil to mix the colors around. Normally I would of course paint the entire surface, but for the purposes of this tutorial I just did the apples itself. So to make this I used a variety of colors, and the way I determined the colors was by looking at the original photograph, and I had swatches of all the oil paints I have. And then I try to match the colors with what I see. So you can see vermilion, there's a little bit of the orange within the apple, and in the flesh of the apple there is this color. So it's more this color than that color. So that way I can kind of determine which colors will be the successful ones to be able to blend together to create the correct, ish colors. So through that I determined that I needed crimson, cadmium red, vermilion, titanium white for mixing, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, yellow, permanent green, and olive green for the leaf. So to mix with oils, you need to have some sort of palette to mix with. And I use a paper palette that's kind of like a waxy kind of finish. And so that way you can tear off a page, throw it in the bin, mess is gone, and it doesn't seep through to the other side. But I always put a little bit of kitchen paper in between just in case. To mix colors, I use a palette knife like this, and that way you can pick the colors up and mix them around to create a nice even tone. I always use the bottom of the palette knife, and you can kind of scrape it up and put a little plop somewhere else. The mixing is really important, and the oil paint itself is a combination of pigment and oil. So to make it more fluid, you just add more oil. So I've got some linseed oil that I mix with. Now you can also get water-based oil paints, and these water-based oil paints, instead of mixing with the oil, you can just mix with water. But you can also mix with linseed oil with the water-based paints. Some of my paints are a little bit old, so like this olive green, it had a lot of oil that came out of the tube, but that's fine, I can just use it to mix with. Have a bit of paper towel on hand to wipe your brush throughout. Sometimes I find that this is enough to clean my brush with in between colors. It's probably not the best thing to do. It's probably best to clean them completely. I have a special kind of cleaner, a brush cleaner that's non-toxic, and it comes out, it's kind of like a bit soapy oily, and you just put that on your paper like that, and then you kind of work it into your brush to get out all of the paint. But of course, a proper clean with soap and water, and in some cases, some terps will completely clean your brush. Now this is just a little crash course in oil paints. I'm by no means an expert, and I'm by no means telling you everything about oil painting. There's a lot more that you can mix with and blend with, but I'll leave that up to you to investigate yourself. So here I've mixed the two greens because I found that the one on its own was not enough, and then I'm often blending in a little bit of the browns to create the right pigment. Now, the painting itself is really fun. So, let me get a color that you can see properly. So, for example, if I get the reds, because the reds are fun. So again, with the reds, I've mixed together two different colors, the cadmium red and the vermilion. And I didn't really use much of the crimson in the end. I found that these colors were okay. So you can slap on a bit of paint. Had a little bit of white on the brush, that's why it's a bit pinky. And you can go quite heavy. But the cool thing is that it takes a really long time for this paint to dry. So you can spend a long time moving all the paint around. So say that I grab some of this and I put it there, and I'm not happy with where I've put it. I can actually just pick it up, so I can get rid of the excess on my brush, and I can just kind of scrape it up and put it somewhere else. So you can blend and move. So if I could pick up some of this and I can blend that in again, but if I'm not happy with it, I can just pick it up and blend it in somewhere else. So it's almost like sculpting in a way. You can get really big chunks of it and put it somewhere, and you can use the edge of your palette knife to create lines, to scrape, to smooth, and to create interesting textures. I used a lot of little baby brushes as well to get some of the detail, and that's when I'm going to move my camera down. Oops. So you can get a closer look. So you can then move this paint around as if you're really sculpting with it. I found that out of all the paints, it is the most blendable medium and really, really fun to play with. If I get a bit of the oil here, basically if you're having trouble blending and smoothing, you just grab a bit of that oil and start popping it in. Then all of a sudden, everything becomes more translucent and it becomes wetter and much easier to make very fine lines. So if you're struggling with creating a nice line, as I did on the very edge of the apple, what you need to do is just apply some oil, and then even with a with quite a wide tip, you can suddenly create really fine lines because suddenly the paint is more fluid and easier to mix around with. So have fun playing with oils. Until next time.